You're thinking about buying the Apple iPad 9th generation. N you want that famous iPad experience, that perfect blend of simplicity and power, but your budget isn't infinite. N you need to know if this is the right tablet for you or if you're about to make a $329 mistake. N stick with me, because I'm going to give you the brutally honest, no-fluff review of the iPad 10.2 9th Gen. N I'll reveal exactly who should buy it, and more importantly, who should run for the hills. N but here's what surprised me. After testing every feature for weeks, I found this isn't just an old iPad. N it's a secret weapon for a very specific group of people. N therefore, before you spend a single dollar, you need to see this. N for the best price. Click the link in the description. N. Let's start with the biggest question. Why does this iPad even exist in 2024? N. Apple has the fancy iPad Air, the powerhouse iPad Pro, and the tiny iPad Mini. N. Where does this basic model fit in? N. The answer is simple, but it's crucial. N. This iPad is the ultimate gateway drug into the Apple ecosystem. N. It's designed for first-time buyers, students, and anyone who just needs a reliable screen that works. N. But is that enough today? N. Therefore, we have to look past the marketing. N. First, the design. N. Honestly, it looks familiar. N. If you've seen an iPad from the last decade, you've seen this. N. It has the classic home button with Touch ID, the thick bezels, and the lightning port at the bottom. N. In a world of all-screen tablets and USB-C, this feels like a relic. N. I mean, the lightning port is the tech equivalent of finding a VHS tape in your Netflix queue. N. But here's the twist. That old design is its greatest strength for some people. N. Therefore, let me explain. N. The home button is a godsend for anyone who struggles with gestures. N. Think about grandparents, younger kids, or anyone who just prefers a physical button to press. N. It's simple, it's intuitive, and it always works. N. The bezels give you a place to hold the tablet without accidentally touching the screen. N. And the build quality. It's all aluminum. N. It feels solid, not cheap. N. This isn't a flimsy plastic tablet that will creak in your hands. N. But then you look at the screen, and the compromise begins. N. This is a 10.2-inch Retina display. N. It's bright, it's sharp for everyday tasks, and the colors are good. N. Watching videos, browsing the web, reading, it's perfectly fine. N. However, it's not laminated. N. What does that mean? N. There's a tiny air gap between the glass and the actual LCD panel. N. Therefore, when you tap or write with the Apple Pencil, it feels and sounds a little hollow, like you're tapping on a separate piece of plastic. N. It's not the seamless, fused experience of the more expensive iPads. N. For a student taking notes all day, the tactile difference can be annoying. N. But is it a deal breaker? Not for most. N. Let's talk about the star of the show for many. Performance. N. This runs on the A13 Bionic chip. N. Now, the A13 is not new. N. It debuted in the iPhone 11. N. But here's the contrarian snapback. This chip is still incredibly capable. N. Therefore, in daily use, this iPad flies. N. Apps open instantly. N. You can have a dozen Safari tabs open, stream music, and jump into a game without a stutter. N. I played games like Genshin Impact, and while you have to turn the graphics settings down a bit, it was completely playable. N. For tasks like video editing in LumaFusion or photo editing, it handles them with ease. N. The performance promise Apple makes is true. This will not feel slow for years. N. But there's a hidden bottleneck. N. It only starts with 64 GB of storage. N. And you cannot expand it. N. No microSD slot here. N. Therefore, you must choose 64 GB or pay $100 more for 256 GB. N for a tablet in 2024. 64 GB is tight. N the iPadOS itself takes up a chunk. N a few big games, some videos downloaded for a trip, a photo library, and you're suddenly playing storage Jenga, deleting apps to make room for new ones. N it's the single biggest limitation of this entire device. N but what about the camera? Can you use this for video calls? N yes, but with a major caveat. N the front-facing camera is a 12MP ultra-wide lens with center stage. N center stage is genius. It automatically pans and zooms to keep you in the frame during video calls. N it works flawlessly for Zoom, FaceTime, and meetings. N therefore, as a portable teleconferencing device, it's excellent. N however, the rear camera is just okay. N it's an 8MP shooter. N it's fine for scanning documents or taking a quick snapshot of a whiteboard. N but if you're thinking of using this as your main creative camera, think again. N your modern smartphone will take vastly better photos. N speaking of creativity, let's discuss the Apple Pencil. N this iPad only supports the first-gen Apple Pencil. N that's the one that charges by plugging clumsily into the lightning port. N it looks ridiculous, like the iPad is smoking a tiny digital cigar. N and to pair it, you have to remove a cap and plug it in. N it's a comically awkward process compared to the second-gen pencil that magnetically snaps and charges on the side of other iPads. N but here's the good news. The actual writing and drawing experience is still fantastic. N the latency is low, pressure sensitivity works, and for a student or casual artist, it's a powerful tool. N therefore, if you can get past the charging quirk, the pencil unlocks this iPad's true potential. N now, the audio. N it has stereo speakers, but they're both on the bottom when held in landscape. N therefore, if you're watching a movie, your hands will often block the sound. N it gets loud enough, but the quality is just decent. N for private viewing, you'll want headphones. N and of course, it still has a 3.5mm headphone jack. N in Apple's world. That's a rare vintage feature, like finding a physical keyboard on a new iPhone. N it's great for wired headphones or connecting to older audio systems. N but the real daily test is battery life. N Apple promises up to 10 hours of web browsing or video. N in my testing. That's accurate. N you can easily get through a full day of mixed use without panicking. N it's a workhorse. N therefore, for a student going from class to class or for someone using it on the couch all evening, the battery is a non-issue. N it uses a 20W charger in the box, but it's still a lightning cable. N this brings us to the ecosystem lock-in. N this is an iPad. N it runs iPadOS. N that means you have access to the best tablet app ecosystem on the planet. N Procreate for artists, LumaFusion for editors, fantastic note-taking apps, and games optimized for a big screen. N the software support is also legendary. N this 9th-gen iPad will likely get new iPadOS updates for 5+ more years. N therefore, you are buying into longevity. N but iPadOS also has its limits. N it's not a Mac. N file management can be fiddly, and some websites still default to their mobile versions. N it's a companion device, not a full laptop replacement for most people. N unless you add a keyboard. N the keyboard. N you can use any Bluetooth keyboard, but Apple sells the Smart Keyboard Folio for this model. N it turns the iPad into a little laptop-like device. N typing is good for emails and light writing. N but it's expensive, and the typing experience is shallower than a real laptop. N therefore, ask yourself, do you need to type long documents? If yes, factor in that keyboard cost. \n. Now, let's resolve the core question. Who is this iPad actually for? \n Act 3. The resolution. \n. After all this, the verdict becomes clear. \n. The iPad 9th Gen is not for the tech enthusiast who wants the latest and greatest. \n. It's not for the professional artist who needs a laminated display and a slick pencil charger. \n. And it's certainly not for someone who needs tons of onboard storage. \n. But it is a masterpiece of value for a specific audience. \n. Therefore, buy the iPad 9th generation if \n you are a student on a tight budget. \n this plus the pencil is a phenomenal note-taking and research machine. \n you are buying a first tablet for a child or a family member. \n it's durable, simple to use with the home button, and will last for years. \n you want a secondary device purely for media consumption, video calls, and light web browsing. \n it's the perfect kitchen, bed, or couch companion. \n you are entering the Apple ecosystem for the first time and want a low-risk, high-reward entry point. \n if you fit into any of those categories, this iPad is an easy recommendation. \n it takes the core iPad experience, instant performance, a great app library, and stellar battery life, and delivers it at the lowest possible price. \n but if you need more storage, a modern design with USB-C, or a better display for drawing, you should look at the iPad 10th Gen or the iPad Air. \n therefore, the choice is yours. \n you now have all the information. \n you know about the Lightning port, the A13 Bionic's hidden power, the storage dilemma, and the perfect use cases. \n this isn't the best iPad Apple makes, but for the right person, it is the smartest purchase you can make. \n it proves that sometimes the old, reliable tool is exactly the right one for the job. \n before you go, if this review helped you make a decision, that's the goal. \n to get the absolute best price on the Apple iPad 9th generation. Check the link in the description below. \n we work to find the best deals, and it helps support this channel at no extra cost to you. \n thank you for watching.